Well, hello everyone. I wanted to come back and just give a quick tutorial on how I do this beautifully inspired fall Halloween kind of fun gradient nail art design. I can't remember offhand who I got inspired to do this design from, but I will post the link in the description box. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I did this gradient actually, and I cut the little top off so it's easier for everyone to see. And it was a really easy gradient to do. You just got to kind of keep the angles. So I have my thumb pre-done in white, so the color has more of a chance to pop through, and then that way you don't have to put as many layers on. And then I have my Simply Peel around the cuticle to kind of protect so it's easier to clean up. So I'm just going to start by putting the black on. This is Wet n Wild black. I like to mix the colors that are kind of lighter. The black goes on thick but a little clear. So I'm going to take it kind of like in a V angle because this is much easier to do the gradient with and get that kind of sky effect. Okay. We're going to move on to our Sinful Colors blue. And you can overlap a little. I've decided that the black doesn't need to be all that thick because the blue and the orange are really what brings out this color. This is Sally Hansen Sunkissed. I really like this color because it's really close to kind of thin. You see how much thinner it is and it spreads out bigger. I don't know why, that just seems better for gradients. And then this nice pretty little drop of yellow at the bottom. So we're going to come here and start at the top. Let's see if I can get this in focus. And we're just going to, I like to press the end first. I don't know why, because it kind of spreads the color. Don't do it hard, just kind of slightly lay it. And then I just kind of roll back and forth. All right, so we got a very light kind of color. And we're going to go back in and we're going to lay more of our polish color down on the pad. Now I'm using a latex-free makeup sponge. They're really easy to work with. They do get kind of sticky after a while, which is good for the end layering of polish, but if you leave it on too long, the sponge will actually transfer off onto your nails. So you have to kind of be slightly quick. And you see I put a lot of polish on. This kind of helps between dry times. I don't know why. If you get a nice thin layer of polish going in there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Some more black. Now I'm doing the thumbnail. I apologize. I actually had a Space Cadet moment earlier when I was trying to get ready for doing this tutorial. And I did all of my easy to film nails first. All right, so it's much clearer. You see that the blue is a little bit farther down. This is a bigger nail, and unfortunately it's the nail I use the least, so I'm going to use this as my quote accent nail on this design. You see the blue and the black are very nice and opaque, so I'm going to come back in with much more of my lighter colors. Sometimes I kind of, I'm sorry, I can't get this in focus, use the sides of my brush to get a really thick line. And it also kind of helps clean off all that extra polish you have trapped on the sides of the brush. Sally Hansen tends to get thicker and thicker, which is better than newer polishes I use for water marbling and the older polishes I use for stamping. And the Wet n Wild just always stays nice. So again, I'm going to come back with the tip. We knocked over our bottle there, but that's fine. And just press this in. If you have some extra polish on the sides, that's fine. Kind of roll back and forth to get that nice, clean line. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. So as far as stuff out of the way. Right. I'm not messing up my design by doing this. All right, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna take off our Simply Peel here. Kind of grab the edge with like a toothpick. or a little stick. I know I'm messing my color up a little. But for these purposes, that is just fine. I'm going to take a little bit towards the end, and we're going to kind of bulk up the end of the polish here. All right, so what I like to do for the little tree design is we have a little bit of the Wet n Wild black. Kind of blob that out on the palette or my nail art mat. And we're going to take the really thin little liner, excuse me, a little dotter tool we have, and we're going to make a couple of little tree designs. So I can get this in frame for you. I kind of take a dot at the top and move it back and forth, just gently touching the nail. And you gotta kind of think tree here. Wider at the base, skinnier at the top. Now I start at the top because I find if I start at the bottom, my design gets just insane. And I can't keep my idea of focus for trees. To go bush or something, I don't know. All right. Just kind of keep dotting or gobbing the little bits of polish on. Keep the polish fresh, and I'll show you why later after we get our second little tree in here, why you need to keep the polish nice and fresh. So we're going to go on this side over here, and we're just going to make a littler tree. Kind of tapping this little liner. Don't really push down into your polish because it's still wet, but I kind of like to do it when it's still wet. It just seems to blend on that design better. All right, so I'm just going to take this and seal the end of the nail. You see there's still polish sticking through, but I'd like to wrap the end of the nail here a little bit. Help seal the design on, and if someone's looking at the bottom of your nail, it kind of wraps that prettiness around. All right, so we're going to move on to the next. It's going to clean our little brush here. And unfortunately, this White Out by Sally Hansen is getting very old, and unfortunately it is running a little bit. It gets really, really wet, really dry really quickly. So we have to work extremely quickly. I'm going to take this little dotting tool and just tap it on top, mostly in the black, the darkest black and blue areas. Getting smaller as you go down. Get a couple more up here, the little ones. All right, so what I'm going to do to finish off this look is I would put a clear coat over the top, but a lot of clear coats, I have to say, this is really important when you're doing a design like this. Let's see if I can get this more in focus for you. And I can't. Anyways, when you get a design that's more like this, and you use something like this polish that kind of runs everything. So I have like Instant Dry by Sally Hansen that runs it'll just make the polish run all over the place. This is Sinful Colors, and this is invisible, and I thought this would be better, but it doesn't. It just smears everything. I ruined like 2 things yesterday. So I take the Sally Hansen invisible polish to do everything. I finish everything up. Let's see if I can get a little bit more light in here so you guys can see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I have these beautiful crystals I got from my girl Fran at the Essence of Beauty shop, and my little picker-upper thing here. So we have like 4 or 5 crystals, and what I'm going to do is take the Sally Hansen. I'm going to put a little dot here because it's easier to pick it up. And I'm going to take my little dropping tool, my little dotting tool. I'm going to take a little of the clear polish, and I'm going to pick my biggest star here. 2 of them on each nail, I think. And we're going to dot a nice big spots of the invisible polish. That also seems stickier and it seems to hold things better. So let's just pick up a crystal here and place it right on that star. And another one down here. I absolutely adore the way that looks.